There's always a moment, that moment when you stop explaining it away, stop making excuses for it, stop shrinking, tolerating, and just surviving. That moment that something inside of you says, not anymore. It doesn't mean you aren't afraid, though. It doesn't mean you're choosing freedom to go away. And today, we're talking about those moments, the ones that change everything. When you say, I'm taking my life back and I'm not allowing anything to stop me. That's what we're going to get into today. Have you ever hit a moment where success wasn't enough? Where the weight of your past and the scars no one sees, or the doubts you don't dare voice, keep you from breaking through to the life you know you're capable of? Maybe on the outside, you've achieved more than most, but inside, there's still something holding you back. If that hits home, take a breath. You found your people. You found your tribe. Welcome to That Shit Does Not Define You, Stories of Hope. I'm Athena Captain, joined by my co-host, Jada Haycraft. This isn't just another podcast, friends. It's a space to strip away the labels, the shame, and the invisible barrier standing between you and your next chapter in life.
In every episode, we'll bring you raw, real stories of resilience, people who have rewritten their lives, and give you the strategies and tools to do the same. Whether you're climbing out of rock bottom or breaking through to your next level, your future starts here. Let's get started.
And today we have a guest who has done exactly that. And so I want to get you guys started in introducing him. His name is Jeff. You're going to have to help me with your last name. Jeff?
Gabelsberg.
Gabelsberg. Okay, there you go, you guys. Sorry, Jeff. I just call him Jeff, or the GOAT guy. And we'll talk about why he's the GOAT guy. And by the end of this, you'll understand when you follow him on social media and look up his company, he's totally the GOAT guy. But let me tell you a little bit about Jeff. Today's guest is a true innovator, an entrepreneurial person. He's the founder and CEO of Jolly Goat Garage Doors and DonkeyDoorProducts.com. He's based in Oklahoma City, and he has built a thriving business known for its creativity, resilience. You guys know I like that. And bold branding. Jeff's journey is not short from inspiring, which is why he's here, from a challenging youth to becoming a multi-million-dollar business owner. So if you don't believe you can do it because of what's going on, he's going to give you some transformation and let you know it can. He transformed his life by seizing opportunities and adapting to market demands. So you definitely want to make sure that you're listening today. Remember, like and subscribe, share this with somebody if they need to hear some wisdom today. You'll want to take notes, although Jada will make sure we have some things in the show notes, and you know she has that resource guide for you. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Jeff.
And I'm so excited to be here too.
Yay.
This is amazing. I love the podcast. I love your show. And this is just, I'm happy to be here and be a part of it. So thank you for the invite.
You're so welcome. Hey, so Jeff, to our audience are people who want to be like you, right? They want to know that the labels or things that have happened to them in the past don't limit them from dreaming and achieving and getting past that. Tell me, outside of your bio, what are something that you would want people to know about you?
Well, you kind of hit a trigger word for me there a second ago, and that's about labels. You know, I've been labeled with just about everything there is, especially growing up and going through my younger adulthood and everything else, with whether it was trouble or relationships or whatever it was, friendships, you name it. I've been labeled with all kinds of stuff. And that was one of those things that stuck with me for a long time. And I struggled with getting rid of those labels because, you know, if you get labeled with something, it's really difficult sometimes once you accept it to get that out of your head and change that mindset. And so that I struggled with that for a long time. And it's just one of those things, just everybody know those labels can go away. Only you control those labels. And so once you change that mindset and start to hit those goals and put goals in place and start hitting them, then that's where it really makes the biggest difference. But I've been labeled with it all, I bet.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And audience, I know you probably carry lots of labels too. Jeff, one of the things that I say often in this podcast, it's like wearing a heavy coat that you don't love, right? And
Yeah.
it's shaming and it's daunting and it's just, it's heavy. And we're going to throw that coat off. Thank you for being transparent and honest. We try to do that on this show for sure because we want to be authentic. I don't like toxic positivity, right? We're going to be honest and real so that you can change. So, Jeff, I want to get into some questions, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Sure.
So, take us back. What was life like right before you made the choice to start your own business?
Wow. So life back then was a struggle. I was going through life. Looking back on it now, my biggest struggle was probably knowing the fact that I wanted something so bad and I just wasn't able to grasp it or do it, or I didn't know how to do it, to start my own business and do my own thing. So that was probably one of my biggest struggles. But life was, well, it was, I was, I guess I should say I was mostly happy with life, but looking back, I think I was covering that happiness up with a lot of things, right? I wasn't as happy on the inside as I was really showing on the outside. I knew that I had the ability to do bigger and better things, and I was being held back quite a bit, mostly by, well, there was a lot of stuff. A lot of it comes with the people you surround yourself with. And so those were probably some of my biggest struggles in that area. I would have to say, as far as directly to the question, what was life like? It really wasn't great. I was living my best life at the time, but it was all I knew how to do at the time.
I want to dig into something because you said something profound there. And I really want the audience to hear this. You said the people you surround yourself with really made a difference. And I know that sounds very cliche, and we can see, posts about that. But I have experienced that in my life too. Can you dig a little bit deeper? And you don't have to be ugly to anybody, but
Yeah.
what made you realize that it was time for you to escalate who you were around?
Sure. Well, you know, my parents, my dad used to drive that into me, quit hanging out with this punk. If you hang out with this punk, you're going to be a punk, and I
Mhm.
didn't listen to anybody back then. I had a very, very difficult time with authority. And so I hung out with punks and I ended up being a punk, I ended up growing up a thug because of the people I surrounded myself with. And I thought that's what I was meant to do and I was meant to be. And as I got older, I, would hang out with different types of people and just kind of you get into that circle. And the type of people I was hanging around with were good people, genuine, honest people that, with families and just amazing people. We would do all kinds of stuff together, but they weren't the kind of people that I needed around me to help me grow.
Mhm.
And there's certain types of people, mostly people listening to this podcast right now, that know they have the potential to grow and they're struggling to do it. And it's the people around you that can help you grow. I also realized that there's other people out there doing exactly what I want to do. And I thought there was like a handful of people out there in the world that were doing what I want to do. There's millions of them. Once I started, putting myself in front of these people and finding some mentors, that was the biggest thing that they drove in front of me was like, you got to hang out with this group of people instead of this one. Listen to this book, listen to this podcast, do this, do that. And I started doing those things. And I realized really fast that's when my mindset really shifted. And I kind of, I didn't get away from the life I was living. I just kind of got away from, I just had a different focus at that time.
Absolutely.
And that's when that mindset shift really kicked in and was like, okay, there is some power. There's a lot of power in who you surround yourself with for sure.
Oh, wisdom. I really hope you guys took that. That was extreme. We could stop the podcast right now. That was extreme wisdom. And I will tell you what he just described is not easy, folks. Okay, it's not easy. And I also want to say from my own experience, it doesn't mean you eliminate those people. It means you can love on them, but you're not getting your inspiration from them. Right? I think that that's what's a key factor there too. It's not like, some of them you eliminate, but most of them you can still have a relationship and love on them. But it's critical, right? That you are surround yourself with people that support you. I laugh. So Jeff, if I were to sit down with Jeff and tell him my audacious, crazy goal of where I want to end with my adventures, he would be the kind of guy that would be like, okay, girl, that's going to take a minute, but you go, girl.
Let's
Right?
do it. Yeah.
Let's do it. How can I help? I'm cautious though of who I tell because I have heard that's too hard. That's impossible, right? We
You
don't
have
need
so
that.
much on your plate already.
Yeah, you can't do that with being a mom of a child with special needs. I'm like, you get behind me because you don't know me. Like, anyway, Jada gets it too, where Jada, people are like, you can't do all that. That's just too much.
I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, well, I can, and I'll prove it to you.
Yeah, and like
exactly.
too
Yeah,
much for you doesn't mean anyway. So
Yeah.
yes, I love that, Jeff. Thank you so much for
yeah,
sharing that wisdom. And
absolutely.
wow. All right, let's just see what number 2 is going to be, you guys. Okay, was there a clear turning point for you? A day, a conversation, an event? I know you said you got some mentors, but what was that thing that you finally said, "Okay, today's the day. I've got to do it." Was it a feeling?
There was probably a lot of feelings along the way, and I don't know if there was an actual moment. If there was, I don't remember it. I can tell you my whole life, I've had moments of clarity of where I want to be and where I need to be with my life. And I could never reach those. I could never get there. And there was a point, and so I was living in Florida at the time, and there was a point where I was like, man, I was working for another company, and this was, just a quick recap. I moved back to Oklahoma City, where I'm at now, in 2013. I was born and raised here, but I moved back in 2013 to start the business. And so, but right before, when I was living in Florida, it was just like, man, there is something wrong with my life, because I'm waking up and going to bed every night and every day knowing that I could be doing better. And I finally just said, you know what, I've got to go somewhere else. I had to get away from where I was at. Really, that where I was at was holding me back, and I'd been there a long time. And so it was just a matter of waking up and saying, I got to get out of this place and try something new. Now, that was nothing new to me, because I've been doing that my whole life. I went born and raised in Oklahoma, left there because I was running from problems. Went to Georgia for a while, left there running from problems. Went to Dallas for a little while, left there running from the whole life. I've just been running from stuff. And I finally said, I got to stop running from things and I got to confront it. And that took me years to figure out, even after I moved back to Oklahoma. But that was where my mind was at, trying to get to a better place for myself, to start a business and be able to even start what I knew I was capable of doing. I just was struggling so hard to do it.
Well,
Yeah.
again, thank you for your vulnerability here. One thing that really strikes me about what you were saying is, and you probably know this, but that pattern or behavior, that spiral of behavior, negative behavior, repetitive, that is very difficult for people to break. I know that there are people listening right now that you, like Jeff, have a knowing, right, Jeff? There was a knowing that you were more. There was a knowing you were more capable, but you were in a cycle of behavior for whatever the reason, that was limiting you being able to really make that knowing come a reality. And I want
Absolutely.
people to hear that if you're in that cycle right now, you can get out of it.
Yeah.
Jeff did.
Yeah.
You can get
Absolutely.
out of that cycle. I really want, Jeff, can you speak to those people, the people that are listening right now, and they're like, man, I'm stuck in this behavioral wheel, or I'm stuck in complacent wheel, but I have this knowing I could be better. What would you say to them?
Yeah. So my behavioral issue then was, I was always focused on myself, trying to figure out, okay, all right, self, what can you do to get out of this situation? What can you do to create another situation that's maybe positive? And I was just focused on me. And that's all I knew from when I was a kid. It was just survival. And I was just trying to survive. But once I realized, and there was a click, and it was a book that I read, I actually listened to, because I don't read very well, but it was a book I listened to, and I'll share it in a second. But once I read that or listened to that, I thought, man, okay, there's something here. I listened to it again for the second time, and it just blew my mind. And I started putting others first instead of myself. And what that did was created this moment and this feeling inside me that I had never felt before. And I was at the time financially struggling. I mean, big time. And I thought, okay, well, if I give this or give that, what if I don't get anything in return? I'm struggling financially. This sucks. But I put it all out there and I did it. And that was the biggest turning point for me, getting out of that behavior and moving into something positive. Was stop focusing on me. I'm going to be okay. I will always be okay. I realize that now. I just didn't at the time. And just start focusing on others. And when I'm talking focus on others, I'm not talking about necessarily a spouse or a child. I mean, that's your focus, but just others around you, people you don't know, and get into this giving lifestyle. And that was an amazing turning point for me. And the name of that book, most people have probably heard of it, but was The Go-Giver. It was a very simple, very easy listen. I actually still listen to it today. When I get on the road, I'll throw it in the truck and just listen to it. That was a game changer for me. Again, getting back to that mindset shift. It was amazing.
I have it right over here.
There you go. Yeah, it's a
Yep,
good one. Yeah,
absolutely.
it's a good one.
It's a little read.
It is.
It's a
It's
little
easy.
read, but it's
Yeah.
powerful. It doesn't have to be big to be powerful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
All right, so I love it when a book, a podcast, or somebody comes into your life just at the right moment to open up your eyes. But I love what he said about when you learn, it's not about yourself. That's a mic drop right there. So the first one is get your mic drop is get the people around you. The second one, right, you guys, is not don't make it about yourself. Love that. All right. So starting a business, Jeff, takes a lot of guts, bravery, a little craziness. Can you talk about what were some of the biggest fears running through your mind when you made that decision that you're going to start a business? And how did you keep moving through those negative emotions, if you had any, to actually achieve what you have achieved?
Sure, absolutely. I would say honestly that my biggest fear was financial. It was, can I support myself and everybody else around me? How's this going to work? If I start my own business and I go out and I don't have any work, then what am I going to do? And for the listeners, I'm in the home service space, so we have to get leads and we have to get jobs in order to be able to, and to do work and perform it, so and make money. So that was my biggest fear, probably going into it for the longest time. I've been in the industry ever since I was a teenager. So I was
Okay.
never worried about, hey, am I going to be able to do this job or can I perform it correctly? There was one thing I was really good at, was going and knocking on a customer's door, finding out what their problem is, solving their issue and making them really happy. Right. So to me, I thought there's no way I can fail at that. But I realized real quick, you have to have those doors to knock on in order to be successful in that part of it. So I struggled with, I struggled with that in the beginning, and and I didn't have any money when I literally had. I went to go set up an account whenever I set up my corporation papers when I moved back to Oklahoma, and I went to the bank and they said, well, to set up a commercial account with this and your EIN number, you have to have a minimum of $500, and I only had 200 on me. So I called my mom. She lived not too far from there, and she came up and met me and loaned me the $300 so I could start the account, just to get my business started, so I could do deposit checks. And so the financial piece of it was one of my biggest fears, and it didn't happen overnight. Of course, there was a lot. There were several months of that. Of just figuring that out. But I thought real fast, okay, if I need leads, I got to get creative. How do I do it? And I didn't call them leads back then. It was just jobs. I needed jobs. And one of the biggest things, like I said, I was broke, so I didn't have any money to put into Google or put into mail outs or do any kind of marketing. I actually didn't even know what the word marketing meant at that time.
Yeah.
And so I just started figuring out what can I do for free. And I just started showing up at events that people were doing, whether it was a birthday party, whether it was, a homecoming or a graduation event, the parties and stuff. I was just showing up to people's parties. Then I realized real quick, somebody invited me to go to a networking meeting. And I'm like, what is that about? I was checking it out. So I went to this networking meeting and met some people. And, one of the neatest things I love to brag about, because I really dove into networking. I to the point where I was doing so much networking. Because there's so many free ones out there. And I would tell anybody starting a business, don't focus on the stuff that costs money, because there's so many free options out there when it comes to it. But just putting yourself in front of those people can really get you started. That's what got me and my business started, and that's what kept me going for quite a while, for many months, even a few years. Getting started was just networking. What I was fixing to say a second ago, the cool thing about being in the garage door space is, to this day, and that was 10, 11 years ago when I started doing that, to this day, because I still do networking events, I do a lot of them. I've never been in a room where I walked in and there was another garage door guy in my space. And I realized
Oh.
that really fast. Every time I went to a different network, somebody would invite me to this group and this group, and I'd walk in, I was the only door guy. So I knew right there, I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody about this networking thing, and I'm just going to die. It's going to be me. But now over the past couple of years, I share everything. Everybody around knows I'm an open book about our business. I invite other garage door companies to come visit us and things like that. And I tell everybody about it now, but I still have never ran into another garage door company at any of these things. So I knew I had to capitalize on that and focus on something that was going to work for me personally, that I was comfortable with doing. And to preface that, I wasn't comfortable talking in front of people or anything like that, but I was good at least having a conversation with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the networking piece came into play.
So many people. Okay,
Yep.
you explained a lot there, so thank you so much for that. But okay, I'm listening to you right now, and I'm like, how did you have the guts to do that? How did you make it through the bank account being at zero? How did you make it through the first couple of years when, and you don't even have to tell me your story, but I promise you the first couple of years you were not getting rich.
No, it was a struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. And so by the way I know that is because that's business 101. I always tell people, if you own a business and you haven't been scared to how you're going to make payroll, you don't really never owned a business, right? I mean, that's part of it. But there's a lot of emotions. If I'm listening right now, and how did you just have the guts to say, I can do this? Did you just wake up every day and say, there's no way I'm going to fail? Did you have something internal like that?
So I love to use the word fail. And yes, I had something internal in me that I was always a hustler, right? And was always hustling no matter what. So I knew if I just hustled a little bit harder, then I could get that next job. I knew that I could at least put food on the table for the next day or two. I wasn't planning for the future. I was planning for that day or that week.
Mm.
And so it was just hustle, 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 doing whatever I had to do. I mean, I was on Craigslist throwing stuff out there about, free garage door tune up and things like that, just to make things happen. I was trying to get as creative as I could, because those were the things that didn't cost me money, that had a return that I could actually, collect a check on.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the hustle part of it. Honestly, what probably kept me going, again, getting back to the financial piece, I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to pay the bills. And there was times I couldn't. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I'd come home more than once and the power was turned off, and those kind of things just happen. And so it was a struggle, but it was the hustle side of me that said, yes, you can do it. Because even before, when I was younger and on the street with my buddies and stuff, and it was just always about, well, if we were broke and we all couldn't go eat, we just hustled our way to a meal one way or another, and we just figured it out. And I kind of treated business the same way, because I didn't know any better. Or I shouldn't even say business, because it's almost a disrespect that I say that at this point, not knowing what I know. But back then, that's what it was to me. It was just being able to hustle. I didn't have fear of a lot of things, except for that one thing of just being broke and not being able to survive. I've been down that road. I've couch surfed on buddies' couches. I've been homeless before. I've been in the weekly hotel deals and all this stuff. I mean, I've been down that road, and that was what kept me going, is not getting back to that place.
Yeah, absolutely. That's being truly poor, not
Yeah.
is a motivator. Growing up, I grew up excessively poor, and where food was a question many times, and it is a motivator to today.
Yeah.
It's a definite motivator. So I definitely get that. When one of the things you said really struck out at me, and I'm going to say it in the audience. This is controversial right now, but right now there's an entire movement that says hustle is an anti-word, and it's a bad word, and that it is bad for your health. I got some opinions about that. What do you say?
Yeah.
What do you say about
I
that?
love that. I love that. So, because I grew up with that word, I literally almost had it tattooed on me a couple more than once, right? Because that was it. It was hustle hard and humble. Those are like my things, right?
Yeah.
And so, but recently, I've come to a new focus and a new realization, just because of the growth I've had personally and as a leader. And my goal was always to hustle, just keep hustling, right? I mean, I'm the kind of guy that's never going to retire, not because I can't, because I don't want to. I always want to keep hustling. That was my mindset. But now I've got a new goal. Instead of being at the point where I have the ability to be able to hustle all the time, I want to now get to the piece where I don't have to hustle at all, right? I want to get to no hustle, because then I know I'm really in a place of peace. I'm in a place of love and just this amazing spot where I don't have to wake up in the morning and be like, I got to bust ass today to make things happen, right? And so, and again, that comes down to who you surround yourself with. But it's one of those things where I think that in the beginning, hustle can be a positive term. I think it's very positive. And I think that the people who actually believe it and understand it and connect themselves internally with that word hustle, and they can use it to help fight and get through everything, that's great. But I think now there's a point where we need to wake up and say, okay, I've been hustling. I got to my goals. I'm reaching this, and I'm going over these mountains. I'm busting through these walls. Now, what does it look like a couple, 3 years down the road now? What goals do we have now? Now the goal needs to be, let's get to a point where we don't have to hustle. So, but I love that word regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so on my car, my license plate says hustle hard.
I love it. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. I love it.
So,
I love it.
but I agree with you. Hustle is not sustainable long term,
Correct.
but hustle is necessary at times. I kind of feel like I have this in my vision that I have this bookcase in my brain, right? And in that bookcase are resources. And hustle is a word, an activity, a behavior that is in that library. And there are times when I'm like, okay, it is time to pull hustle down. It is time for this season, for this new project or this new thing that I need to enact some hustle. And hustle for me, this is just Athena Bonics here, right? Hustle to me is meaning you're double downing, that you're not making excuses, that you don't care what impossible looks like, that you take no exception to achievement. That's hustle.
Yeah.
However, I do the hustle, achieve that momentum, then the hustle can go back up. Then I create systems, right? And I create different things in order to calm down. But I still, like you, I'm not going to ever retire. Like they literally, my family, I'll be, 90 years old, still up on stage if they'll let me. I'll die on
Absolutely.
stage. That would be lovely for me.
Love it. I absolutely
You know
love
what I
that.
mean?
Yes.
But
Yes.
I really want to say that because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have that hustle in my toolbox. I'm with you though. I don't want to do it forever. That's not hustle all the time is not good for your adrenal glands, your health, but you need to embrace it sometimes, grit and
Yeah.
hustle.
And it's good for growth, right?
It
It's good for
is.
growth. So and by me getting to a point of no hustle, it's because I've got my team that
Mhm.
I'm leading, that's time for them to hustle in life, right? So I've kind of passed my hustle on to them and now let them work it. And then they've all got the same goals now too, to get to a point of no hustle. So, but I love your perspective on that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I I got to know you a little bit, and I knew instantly we would be friends because we have a very similar mindset. So
Yeah.
I love that. I'm glad that you're here. Hey, along the way, because you have had, to be just really honest, you had extreme success sooner than most businesses. Most businesses, it's around the 8 to 10 mark before they really start to have success. And you were able to have success more quickly than that. And based on a lot of things you've told me, I could see why. But I want two parts of this question. What do you accredit that to? And was there anybody who got in your way or anything that got in your way that you had to remove?
Wow. How much time do we have? Because that's a good one.
Yeah.
Um, there was a lot of stuff that got in my way. And then to clarify also, so I started the business back in 2013 as Garage Door Solutions. That was a company. I came up with this amazing name. And I struggled for quite a few years. It wasn't until 2020 when we actually started when I had that mindset shift of, okay, I got to start, doing things a little bit differently and figuring out. And that's when the podcast came into play and the mentors and things like that we really, and yes, from there, our trajectory has just been insane. I mean, it's crazy. And what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing over the next 3 to 5 years is just nuts. It's what we're doing, what I did 3 years ago, I didn't even think was possible in my industry. And so, but where we're going, the growth is just crazy. As far as things getting in my way, there was always somebody, and Jada mentioned it earlier, there's people there to hold you back, tell you, no, you can't do this. How is that even possible? That doesn't make sense. Hey, stay in your lane. Don't do that. You'd be more comfortable here. And that's okay, because there's supposed to be people like that in the world. And then there's people like us and people listening to this podcast in the world that we got to realize that that's bullshit. We know what we're capable of. And again, we got to get away from those people, their mindset anyway, shift over something positive to be able to grow and to be able to break through. And once you hit those walls, if you hit those walls and you stop and you fall down like I did for so long and don't figure out a way to break through them, you're going to be hitting those walls forever. But once you break through one of them, doesn't matter what it is, it could be something small, something big, you'll realize pretty fast, like, that wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be, or that it didn't take as long, or maybe you got super stressed out about it, and then when the day came, and everything just kind of fell into place, and then you just keep growing from there and keep moving forward. And those people are, no matter what point in business you're at and in life, whether it's personal or life, it doesn't matter. There's always going to be those people. There's always going to be those situations. There's always going to be something that's in your way. But once your mindset's in the right place, those things don't even matter. There's a movie, a comedy movie. I can't remember what it was, but it was a guy. I think it was from the 90s or whatever. And he was at a kid's birthday party, and he was trying to get from point A to point B. And he had been drinking or whatever, and he was trying to get across the yard. And there's all these little kids, they were in his way, and he's just going through the yard, just like pushing their heads out of the way. And there's like a sea of kids just getting knocked down. That's him busting through. That's how I feel now whenever we come up against an obstacle, right? We're just busting. Sometimes it's adult sized people, sometimes it's kids. It's funnier when it's kids though. But we just get in there and just busting through that yard. We know where we want to get to we're at A, we want to get to B. We know we got to get over there. We put together a roadmap on how to make it happen, and then we enforce it and we implement it, and we go there.
Brilliant. Again, I hope you're taking this down because this is real life. This is not a meme, you guys. This is somebody who's done it, who has delivered on it. And I just have to tell you, just being, transparent, and I tell my story. Currently, right now, I'm one of the things I'm doing. I'm a professional speaker, right, and I get paid to speak in different arenas. But so I am pushing this professional speaking, but I can't speak outside of the state of Oklahoma right now because my daughter's illness. And so I've had people say, well, you need to give that up for a while, or, you shouldn't pursue that until, you can travel, or you're never going to have that break because you can't travel. I literally had an agent tell me that limitation is going to set you back, and you're never going to be able to enter the market.
Wow.
Right? I'm like,
wow.
Okay. Right? I'm like, okay. But here's the thing. I'm going to say this for our listeners. That agent isn't necessarily wrong. What people are saying is the truth for other people. Okay? But the truth for other people are like the labels people put on us. That's somebody else putting their boundaries, their comfort zone on you or me. And be careful there. That's arrogance. It's a difference between warning somebody to protect them. And there's a difference between putting a boundary or a box around them because that's your truth. There's always going to be somebody who does it where it never could be done or has to do it differently, right? And so if you're listening right now, especially if you're a mom of a child with special needs, I know you have limitations. They're real. I'm living them. But if you're living right now and you have some real limitations, I want Jeff and my story to inspire you. You can still find a way. You can find a way, and you can do it. And don't make what other people have said that they can't be done. Don't let them define you. Find a way. Jeff, I want to go into that. I want to go a little bit deeper. I'm changing questions up on you because this was so good. You are doing something in the marketplace with your garage door company that, let's just be bold, no other garage door company in the United States is doing, right?
We're doing a little bit different. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not doing it like everybody else. You are forging your own path and you're creating your own future based on what you want it to look like. What made you brave enough to do that?
Well, I love that question too. You got some good ones, Athena. I love this. Yeah. This is good stuff. So, I don't know if brave is the right word, but there's a point that you get to in business once you've had a tiny bit of success and you've been able to hit those goals and know that you can move forward, that you start taking some risks. And risk is something that sometimes you can't afford to do in the early days, but you can start to do as you start to grow and as you have a team around you and other people. And again, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and listen to their advice. And um, all the decisions I've made have been my own to make, but they've all been made by somebody else before. Right. I just decided, okay, that's a good decision for me, or it's not a good decision for me. I maybe modified it a little bit and took some risk and put it out there. So I would say that the biggest piece of that is probably just taking that risk, knowing that I can fail and that it's okay. There's been some pretty big risks that I've taken that if it would have failed, it probably would have been devastating, honestly. But nobody around me knew it except for me, so that's the weight that I bared.
I would say that's
But
brave. Just to let you know,
okay,
I
I
think
would
that's
throw it
brave.
out there. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking back. I'm like, I'm glad that worked out. So for everybody, but yeah, it's being able to take those risks and being able to have those risks be as calculated as possible, right? Knowing that somebody else has done something similar that's been successful. I've taken ideas from multiple different places. Again, like I said, I'm in the home service business, so I take ideas from HVAC, plumbing, electrical, garage doors, roofing, gutters, whatever. All these companies that have been doing this for years and years that are super successful in the tens and hundreds of millions in revenue annually, taking their ideas and seeing where they mostly what I want to know about when I talk to these other business owners. And to back up real quick, I try to go visit at least a couple every month. Right now we've been kind of busy, so it hasn't been that many, but I'll go out of town and I'll find somebody on Facebook, or I'll get a referral from somebody, or maybe meet somebody at one of these networking events out of town that's a successful home business owner or home service owner. And so I would go to them and say, can I go to your shop? Can I come do a shop tour and meet you guys? And like, yeah, come on. And so that's where I start to get a lot of these ideas from. I've got a million things going on in this head. I'm the visionary of the group, right? That's me, but I'm not good at doing anything with these ideas. I have to surround myself with people that can integrate and implement them. But when I'm sitting down with these other successful owners, it's not, hey, where'd you do good? It's where did you fail? Where did you screw up? That's really what I want to know. That's the information that I can take to help build our roadmap and put everything together for us. So with that information, I'll take some mostly calculated risks and take some pretty big steps to grow. Rebranding was one of those things that was really big. Growing a team, just hiring people, wrapping trucks, all these things that seem like it'd be a very simple decision to make. They can be some pretty big risks because you just don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It was
but
pretty.
luckily most of them have worked out. I will say, we have a saying around here, and about one out of every 100 ideas I have actually works. And we play around with the rest of them, and I know I drive my team crazy, bless them. But yeah, they know that every now and then there's a good one in there that work and helps us get to the next level.
I love it. All right. One last question here for my audience, for you. What is the one biggest piece? You've given us so much advice and wisdom today, but in closure for your part here, what is one thing that you would give them as wisdom?
Gosh, one of the things that I struggled with for a long time and has now become a part of our training and recruiting with our team
Yeah.
is, and you guys have heard me use the word mindset so many times in this podcast, but there's so many different types of mindset to me. There's growth mindset. There's all this other thing. Well, there's also a thing called broke mindset. Broke mindset is that mindset of only being able to charge a customer what you think that product or that service is worth. And that's something that I struggled with for so long. I had that broke mindset. I didn't realize it at the time. I just did. And then I would hire somebody and train them, and they would be just like me. And I think I'm training them. He's going to be better than me. But they were the exact same with their mindset as far as being able to charge the right price. Then I learned from somebody else, well, you got to charge what you're worth. And I'm thinking, okay, what does that mean? I can't charge more than this guy. I'm not going to get the work. Well, then you got to do better than this guy. You got to show up. You got to perform. You have to actually, build a service that's better than your competition. And so that was one of the biggest things, and that held me back in the early days. And I would probably be a lot further than I was getting started if I would have charged what I was worth. Right. So when in your business and starting your business, don't be competitive in price wise. Just compete with yourself against how good you can be, right? So if you offer the best service, and it doesn't have to be the best price, is not the lowest price. And you guys have probably heard this before, because they know consumers, there's three things they want when it comes to home service. It's they want how fast can they get it, how cheap can they get it, and what's the best service they can get, right? Well, it's a known fact you can only have two of those things. It's just how it is. So just focus on two of those. Make sure that you're charging what you're worth. Put together a package and offer your clients the absolute best service possible. And that doesn't mean just show up with a smile and make sure you got deodorant on. I would love to talk to anybody about this. There are a million things that go around that. We now have at Jolly Goat a 7-step sales process that is designed and specific to based on our core values and exactly how we want to perform for our customers. And we now know, I didn't back in the day. I was just, a few years ago, we would service anybody, but now we have an actual customer avatar. We know who our best clients are, who we best serve, who are going to leave us that 5-star review. And those are the clients we go after, but it's only because we were able to build a package to present to the world, to show them how good we are and that we are the best. And so always know your worth, and don't ever undercharge a customer, because those are going to be the customers that are your biggest problems. I've learned that along the way. But make sure you just charge what you're worth. I can't say that enough.
Mm-hmm. And that's hard, because I struggle with that. Mm-hmm. I very much struggle with that, that broke mindset because it goes back to that worthy and value thing. So,
yeah.
That's why we're doing this podcast, to tell people, hey, you are worthy, you are valuable, you can do it. You can ask for what you're worth.
Absolutely. And part of that process is now, because, a good example is when somebody tries to come to your house to do something, or do some work on your car, or do whatever it is. If they don't bring value and they give you a price, you're going to say no. Let's say that price is $100. And if they show up and you don't feel good about that person, you're going to not provide. You're not going to let them provide service. But if a different company comes up and they want to charge $1,000, but they create this whole amazing experience for you that puts a smile on your face, and they're talking to you about your kids and your dog and your future and your plans and everything else, and they showed up in a wrap truck, and they text you on the way, they called you to see if you wanted anything on the way there, all this stuff goes into it, then you're going to pay the $1,000. That's just part of it. But your broke mindset is also going to limit you sometimes whenever you're buying things. So and it's one of those deals of, if you think you can't afford it, then you're going to steer away from it. And it's a two-way street, whether you're buying or selling something. So when you're selling something, if you can't afford what you're selling, then you're not going to be able to sell it. So always try to work on that broke mindset piece of it, to be able to know that just charge what you're worth. Whenever I finally started raising my prices, it took me a while. I knew in my mind, I was like, I can't believe I'm charging these prices. I mean, this is just crazy, but I was getting it. And people were smiling whenever I left their house. They're leaving me 5-star reviews. And this is when I was still out in the field. I haven't been out in the field in over a couple of years now. And this is when I was still out there doing things and shaking people's hands and making them laugh. And I realized real fast, I was starting to kind of learn from myself and my actions that, you know what, there is something in this value.
Mhm.
And anyway, it will help your business grow a lot faster if you could charge what you're worth instead of charging what
Okay,
the other
that
guy's
was I
charging.
feel like you just did an
Yeah.
infomercial for me. Okay?
Okay. Good. I
I
love it. I
mean,
love it.
my team has been telling me that. Now you just put a label to it.
Yep.
I'm never
Yep.
gonna hear the end of it,
There you go.
ever. Oh
100%.
my gosh. But, I even have clients telling me that, by the way. Jada,
Yes.
are there any science facts? Is there anything to prove that he and I are talking about something that's actually factual?
Just a wee bit of science and facts.
We gotta get that in there. We gotta get the science in.
We gotta get it in there for the nerds like me, so
Okay.
I will keep
I
it
love
brief
it.
though.
Yeah.
There are a few, but I'll just keep it brief. So the first one is that neuroscience shows that clear conscious decisions like defining that not anymore moment that we've been talking about activate your brain's executive function or prefrontal cortex, which helps override your fear-based and default patterns. So basically, in other words, if you keep telling your brain, I will no longer tolerate blank, you're creating a new neural pathway for action and change. The second one is a study by the American Psychological Association. Wow, words are hard sometimes. They show that fear doesn't disappear before brave choices; it lessens after we take the actions.
Yeah.
Acting through
Mhm.
fear is going to build those psychological resilience factors and increase your self efficacy, or your belief in your ability to handle future challenges. So I thought that that was really important. And then a third one, research shows that prolonged tolerance of toxic environments or situations, whether work, relationships, friendships, or self treatment, is strongly linked to burnout, learned helplessness, and depression. So setting those clear boundaries, making conscious, not anymore choices is going to improve both your mental health and your life satisfaction. And as we've learned from Jeff, your business outcomes.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%.
I love those. I love
Yeah.
that there's always science to back it up. If you've got success, emotional or professional, there's always science to back it up. All right, you guys, to wrap this up, I want to tell you, we have to do the rubber meets the road. This is where I hope you're taking notes because these are the things that you can actually do to implement, right? Jada and I are really key that we want you to be able to implement. So, number one, and I'll keep it quick, identify what you've tolerated too long. Okay, that's very simple. Sit down with yourself and ask, what have I been tolerating that no longer is acceptable to me, or it is stopping me from doing the knowing I have in my heart of what I'm capable? Write it down, pay attention to that, and become aware of it. If you become aware of it, you can change it. Number two, define what you're choosing instead. Okay. So I've defined what I'm not going to tolerate, and I'm going to define what I'm going to do instead. Okay. So ask yourself, if I'm no longer going to tolerate X, then this is what I'm going to do instead. Right. So I want you to think that. So, for example, in Jeff's example, I'm no longer going to tolerate people, or my example, I'm no longer going to tolerate people who tell me I cannot be a national speaker because of I have a child with special needs. Instead, I'm going to say, I choose to prove them wrong, and I'm going to do it the more difficult path and prove it can be done. It just may have to be done differently, right? That's what we're talking about. And then practice courage moments. And courage moments just mean show up for yourself, okay? And do little tiny successes throughout your day and even visualize them. Okay. So if you're struggling right now and you're like, "Ugh, I can't be like Jeff." Yes, you can. Yes, you can. What I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes and I want you to visualize where you want to be, who you want to be. And I want you to feel what it feels like to be that person that you know you're capable of being. Get in the shoes of your best self and feel it and start to own it. Okay. It's important. You're valuable. We don't want the labels to own you. You need to get in touch with your true self. And then you guys know I'm all about a celebration. Last, celebrate the shift. When you have a breakthrough, when you have a leveling up, celebrate it. Make it a big deal. Tell people how proud you are of yourself. Tell your mind how proud you are. The more you tell your brain that you're proud of it, the more it will produce that behavior, right? Whatever we put our energy into, our brain will fixate on and will do. So let's give it the good things. Let's give it the positive thing. And I really just want to say thank you so much for being here, Jeff. You gave us so much wisdom. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you
Um,
guys. I
yeah,
absolutely love it. I know we could talk for days, I'm sure,
we could. We
on
could.
stuff, but yeah, so absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Jado, what's next?
Yes. So I'm going to kick it over to Jeff really quick. Jeff, how can people get in touch with you, either on a personal level or for Jolly Goat?
Sure. For Jolly Goat, it's pretty easy. They can go to the website. There's multiple ways to contact, and that's just jollygoatgaragedoors.com or gowiththegoat.com. We've kind of that's our tagline, go with the goat. And then me personally, love to hear from anybody. If anybody wants to reach out about anything at all, business or personal, I'm an open book. I'd love to hear your story. I can share mine, whatever it is. Probably the best way to get a hold of me is going to be through Facebook. Honestly, just Facebook Messenger. Not on LinkedIn. I've been getting pushed to try to go that direction. I just haven't done it yet. But Facebook, I'm kind of old school, so Facebook is probably the easiest way, and it's Jeff Gabelsberg, pretty easy. As long as you can figure out how to spell it, but I think you're going to put it on the in the comments, so
We will.
it'll be there.
Definitely. Your name will be in the title, but I'll also make sure in the show notes that your
Perfect.
email and Facebook and website is linked there as well.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jeff, for being here. For our listeners, I will also make sure to link the book that Jeff mentioned, The Go Giver. So if anyone has not read that, or even if you've read it and want to revisit it, we'll make sure that that's linked. And then honestly, if you've enjoyed this podcast, we'd love for you to like and subscribe so you can continue to join us. Next week, we'll be talking on faith, fire, and finding your way back when you've drifted far from who you hoped to be. So in the meantime, you can find us just about anywhere. You can find us on streaming platforms or on social media. Athena has a pretty unique name, so just search Athena Captain and you're probably bound to find us. But in all seriousness, this is not your practice life, so don't wait for perfect. Start messy, start scared. Just start, because nothing's going to change until you do. So take one step today toward the life that you want and dare to share it with us. We'll be here standing with you every step of the way. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for being here.